well, morning for me. Welcome to, is this muted? Sure ain't. I'm glad I caught that. Welcome to Live Coding with me. And today I'm going to tell you right off the bat, we're probably not going to be live coding so much as live deciding what to do together. Which is good. I mean, this is part of the development life cycle. And where we're at right now with this project is, I'm in a squeaky chair. I don't know about y'all. Let's just quickly show what our assistant can do so far and then talk about our deployment options. So at this point, my assistant is more or less ready to go, honestly. At least ready to start getting in front of test users. So I'm going to run the action server because we do have some actions that we're using to query this database. So let that start, and then in another tab, make sure, yep, excellent. Action server's up and running. We're going to talk to the assistant in the shell just so you can sort of see the types of conversations that we can have. And my idea for this assistant is that it's going to help me answer questions I get all the time. And a lot of times people will, send me messages and I'll be like, oh, I already know the answer. Like, I've already answered this somewhere else. And then it's just like me sending them a link to something that I've created previously, and then they have to wait for me to have time to do that. I'm not always the best about getting back to messages right away because I get kind of a lot. Can you recommend a video on machine learning, which I don't think we have any of, so it's in the database, so it's going to recommend something on machine learning that's not a video. Oh, did I mark that as machine learning? Interesting. I did not. Also, that's not a URL. Okay, so maybe we're almost ready. What's up with this, huh? So this URL is here. It's doing some of it. I wonder if it's just because we, can you recommend a blog post? That's not something I have, so it'll probably ask me for more information. Hi, Sam, welcome. I want a book. Okay, fantastic. Can you recommend how to learn Rasa? Another question I get quite a bit. And I'm going to say here, I want a course. Okay, so these are the sort of things that you can do with this assistant. You can ask about different types of resources. You can ask, are you looking for a job? Which I'm not. I'm very happy at Rasa. And if you ask something out of scope, it'll let you know the sorts of things that it can ask. How do I get good at Kaggle? Another question I get a lot. And then some recommendations about stuff to learn more about Kaggle. So basically it's just, pulling together a bunch of information, and people can ask the types of questions that they tend to ask me a lot. And then, hey Robbie, get answers. And I think we're about ready to start getting this in front of users. Just for testing purposes, I could set up, and I probably will, a Rasa X instance. We did that a little bit earlier with ngrok. The big problem with setting up a Rasa X instance is that, the big problem with the way that I did it is that I was running it locally on, this computer, and it wasn't a server. So that was, it's not a long-term solution, right? And moving towards, the conversation and trying to figure out how to make it better and more accessible, I want to, before I do a bunch more stuff, start working on deployment a bit, because where I choose to deploy the assistant is going to have effects on the types of conversations that you can have with it, or that I would expect people to have with it. So I've pulled up a bunch of stuff here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is the masterclass handbook. So if you're familiar with our Rasa masterclass on YouTube, it is on Rasa 1.0. Believe me that we know that Rasa is currently 2.x, and it is something that we are actively working on. But the messaging channel stuff is still relevant to 2.x as well. Coffee. So the Rasa masterclass used to show us how to add a chat room, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Web chat. How to add web chat to a simple HTML web page. And I would like to eventually have this. So my original thought was that it could be something that's on my personal website. So here's my personal website. It's just, a bunch of information about me and like all the different talks that I've got. And I thought, well, okay, it would be nice if I could have like a little chat bot here. You can't see my mouse, but I'm sort of moving it in the bottom corner of this this window. It'd be great if we could have a little chat bot that would be helpful and answer the questions right here in the website. And I'm going to preface this by saying, I would not categorize myself as a web developer. Like, I know some things about web development, but it is not my strong suit. And this particular website I actually built, you can go to home so that I can scroll. I actually forked from a academic Hugo theme, and it's on my GitHub, so no, there's the bot. There we go. So I forked it from academicpages.github.io, which itself is a fork of minimal mistakes, which is at this point, I think, pretty far out of date. And it is based on Jekyll. And I did not build it. I changed text in the website. Different light setup today. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's brighter outside. Did I adjust I might have adjusted last time because I was getting some sort of like chroma keying mistakes. I did adjust my various settings. So it's built on Jekyll. Have I done much with Jekyll? No. Do I know a lot about adding fancy stuff to Jekyll? Absolutely I do not. But I think what is gonna be potentially a problem for us here, maybe not, is that it's, if any of y'all know more about Jekyll, please feel free to hop in. Basically, I started researching and learning more and more about this, and the more I learned, the more I was like, oh, this is gonna be so much work. And it's work that like I don't really know that much about. So I'm thinking to myself, does this assistant really need to live on my website? And there is, so I was poking around and looking for, different plugins, because I was like, somebody must have built this and I must be able to just like plug and play. And there is a live chat plugin, which I think seems pretty useful for Jekyll, which is what the website is built with. Again, I did not build it. I am making use of the rich open source communities and the materials that they make available. And it relies on Crisp. This is Crisp. And I have never heard of Crisp before, so I looked into it. And it seems like it's sort of, they do a lot of different stuff. And if you were interested in having a chatbot in a Crisp web chat thing, you would need to use their framework. And I am, so it's a contents CRM, content rights manager? That can't be what the R stands for. I think I've always filled that in with rights in my head, but I don't know what that is. Hi, Kushik. Welcome. But when I saw no code chatbot builder, I was like, this is pretty, I have a chatbot, so that's not what the problem is. And B, this sounds to me a little bit like it might be a state machine, like you might build a dialogue tree and be like, go through the dialogue tree, which can work well in a number of situations, not what I'm working on. So my idea of, oh, you know, I'll just find the existing open source thing and use that was not super successful. Sorry, I'll zoom in a teeny bit more. Was not super successful, so I didn't have great luck there. Yeah, if you're a front-end developer, I'm not, and want to switch to Jekyll. Nothing but respect for front-end developers. It's so hard. You have to care about so many things all the time, and it just, ooh, it's so hard. Anyway, so that sort of avenue where I was like, okay, well, can I just find something that I can sort of like stick on top of my website? I am not having so far, it looks like, a lot of luck with. And the website itself is extremely, you know, sort of, so the actual pages, right, are actually in Markdown, right? So I am not ever actually touching the raw HTML, which is where you would need to go to use web chat, because this is HTML. So could I figure it out? Yes. Do I want to figure it out? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Hi, Mina. Hi, Mas. Welcome, welcome. So all of that aside, let me add this to our little note-taking document here. So that's option one, right? Add Jekyll, Jekyll? Yeah, plugin. I don't even know if that's what that's called. To my existing website. Raw HTML to my website. No idea where that would go. Yeah, the last time I coded a website from scratch, I was in 3rd grade. And CSS was not a thing yet. And since then, my interests have changed pretty dramatically. So those are 2 options. Just being honest, I do not know how to do them. Could we probably figure them out? Probably eventually. That's option 1. Option 2. So I'm actually I'm gonna put these under a subheading. Problem, existing plugins, Defined, relied on integration with specific no-code chatbots. And this one in particular is web chat, which web chat is the bot front one. I'm pretty sure web chat is the bot front one. Pretty sure. So those, actually, this is specifically front-end stuff. So the back end, the good thing is the back end is going to be pretty much the same regardless. We're going to host our assistant somewhere. It's going to be on some sort of URL, and then our, you know, and then our front end, you know, the user will interact with the front end. The front end will, with some sort of authentication, send a request to our, you know, endpoints that will trigger the Rasa server to do its thing, the action server to do its thing, and then the responses will be sent back. So all I'm trying to figure out right now is what is the thing that the person is typing into, and where does that live? The sort of the back-endy stuff and the hosting. I think should be pretty straightforward because I've done that before. I'm not super worried about that. It's this, how do people use it? There's gonna be buttons involved and it just, whew. Okay. So those are two options. Robbie says Markdown is also an option for static website. Yeah, I do really like our Markdown. I would have to rebuild my websites from scratch if I wanted to use something like Blogdown, for example, to get our Markdown into HTML. You know what? That is another example. that is another idea. Website from scratch in a framework I know better. So I can add a chat window. That is actually not an awful idea. Also, Shiny? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So Shiny is a, how do they describe Shiny in the docs? Basically, it's a way of creating interactive stuff. Interactive web apps, straight in R. Sorry, I'm trying to get this. So Shiny is one that I've worked with quite a bit, but it's not, I could do it with Shiny. I think it would end up being a little bit hacky. If you're creating like cool dashboards and interactive visualizations and stuff, you can build websites in Shiny. It's very flexible, but I would probably have to end up doing a lot of custom stuff. So the benefit of that, oh, get out of there. So I'm just adding options, and then we'll go through and talk about what actually makes sense. How about a Discord widget? Yes, so that's going to be the like the second set of things. So the first set is all going to be on the website, and the second is going to be integrations with other platforms like Discord. So I will add that to the list. Somehow will take a lot of custom work, but could be useful to other people as well. So the big problem with, well, I don't know, it's a problem, right? So all of these things will require some degree of, you know, web development or front-end stuff from me, and I know that I could do it. It's just a question of how much time is it going to take, and how much time can I commit to this project? Especially since I work on this 1 hour a week. So I don't want it to like stretch into, you know, winter. Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have capacity to start really working on it during the week outside of live coding until like middle of Q2. So there's that, unless, you know, something drastically changes. Shiny is more focused on dashboards. Yes, no, you can do a lot of stuff with Shiny though, so that could be an option. Possibly with our server could be an option. Yeah. I'm gonna say all of these things have the downside that they're going to take time and futzing. Other options is that we could do an integration with another platform. So in this case, I would not, you know, you wouldn't go to my website and then see the, you know, the doodly-oop. You still can't see my mouse. You wouldn't go to my website and then see like a chatbot in that blank space over there. But the benefit of using a connection to another, nope, it was above this one. The benefit of using a connection to another service is that they do the web front end and I don't have to worry about it. Which again, not my skill set. Happy to outsource this. If I were on a team of people working on a chatbot, my job would probably not be to build the front end. And we have a lot of messaging channels that we already have connections to in Rasa. So I wouldn't have to build anything from scratch, right? I just would have to, for Slack, for example, I just have to go and get this pieces of information, and hey ho, you know, plug them in, make the connection, and it would work. So the benefit of this particular approach, I mean, there's other steps here, right? But it's pretty straightforward, step-by-step instructions. And again, I don't have to design any buttons. Oh, again, nothing but respect for people who design buttons, but I don't think I have a lot of capacity for that right now. Telegram and Facebook also? Yeah, absolutely. Robbie says hire someone. Yeah, not a bad idea. And I mean, basically that's what you're doing when you use somebody else's messaging service, right? Is they're handling that part of the stuff. So, options there. So Discord. I guess the big disadvantage there for me, at least, is that I don't have a professional Discord. I only have like Discords with my friends. Slack could definitely be one. So if you are a contributor to Rasa, we have, you know, a Slack for our contributors to sort of like chat about stuff. So could definitely be a place to get some testing there. So another thing that could be an option is, if you didn't know this, I'm very active on Twitter. So I could try to have a Twitter bot, because I think that's where a lot of people tend to find me. My preference would actually be for it to be DMs so that people can have conversations privately. And I don't actually know if that's something that you can do on Twitter. That does seem like a potential avenue for abuse, right? A bot that only hits up people through DMs. Twitter DM bot. So that could potentially be a thing. Okay, yeah, Free Code Camp is the good one. Sorry, I was trying to remember. Anyway. Okay, so it looks like... Fabulous, yeah. You definitely can... Yeah. And I would probably use... I probably wouldn't use Heroku to deploy a Rasa assistant, because especially with an action server... I mean, you'd have to pay for it, right? You could use Heroku, but it wouldn't fit into the free tier. And at that point, I'd probably use... Well, Heroku's pretty rust. I don't know. Maybe I would use Heroku. Twitter API client for Node.js. All right. Okay, so I can definitely have a bot that talks through DMs, which again would be my preference. Oh, interesting. So Mas is, or Maz or MAS? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but suggested that that Discord can provide a widget. E looks better to me. I don't know if it's right, but it looks better to me. And I am gonna pop this link in here. Just so. Oh, okay. Fascinating. All right. Okay. So when I added the link, it suddenly generated a preview of the markdown, which I was not expecting, and don't know that I love that happened. Cool. Okay. So can provide a widget. Let me look into that. Discord widget Jekyll. Do I know how to spell Jekyll? Absolutely not. No, absolutely I do not. There's a Drupal option. I will say my last personal website, I did build myself in Drupal, and I don't know, it took a lot of work to maintain, and it broke kind of often, but it was open source, and for the low cost of free $99, I'm not going to complain. Okay. But, probably not something I'm going to use, because I'm definitely not going to rebuild my website again in the framework that I just left for very good reasons. And then, okay, on the Discord blog, let's check this out. Blah, 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 show use online. Public Discord server, blah, blah, blah. Widget tab in your server settings, enable the widget, ingest your invite stoppings, and copy the HTML JSON code to embed your site. Okay. So I think this is going to have the same problem as the web chat, in that I don't know where the HTML goes. So that's my problem with that. Ooh, wow, have I been peaky this whole time? Nobody mentioned it. But that could definitely be a good option, particularly if you're someone who already has your assistant deployed on Discord. Yeah. Okay. And Moss says Telegram has nice APIs as well. Yeah, I think that's actually what Yusta uses as an example in the masterclass, if I remember. Yeah, she uses Telegram. Another thing where I don't think I've ever actually used it, so that could be potential problem, like, because you have to free messaging service, third-party integrations. Okay, so you would have to have a Telegram account to message it on Telegram. I guess you need a Twitter account to message it on Twitter though as well. I mean, so far what's appealing to me about Twitter is that a lot of the questions I already get on Twitter. So I think that could be a really helpful way for me to sort of just like basically get people help quicker. Because again, I'm a little bit slow on the response time sometimes because I get a lot of messages. Robbie says, don't worry about spelling. Thank you. Fun fact about me, I almost failed 3rd grade because I cannot spell on account of the dyslexia. I have gotten much better. I've gotten much better as I've gotten older, but it's still rough sometimes. Path says, how can forms be deactivated in the middle of a conversation flow? The easiest way to do that is to create a rule where if you are in a form and you see a certain thing that causes it to be deactivated, you deactivate the form. So one way that I've seen people do that, I think somebody asked about it in chat last week maybe, is that during the conversation in the form, you always have a button that's like, exit the form. And then people can click that, and that will trigger an intent that triggers the rule to close the form. And that'll be in Rasa 2.x. So that would be my recommendation there. Assam says, in Facebook, I think we have a problem with privacy. Yeah, I'm not interested in Facebook. It's also not a professional space for me, right? Like, this is a place where I'm answering questions that people have that are, related to work. And so I would only want to answer those questions in like a workspace, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I was thinking about the connectors that we already have. So Facebook Messenger, again, I mentioned not interested in that. Slack could be an option, but then people would have to create a Slack account. And there is, I don't know how active it is anymore, but For a while, I was running a Slack for people who are asking questions about linguistics and statistics. And I guess I could use that one, but it's not really like a personal Slack for me. It was more a place to bring people together. So I'd feel a little weird about using that Slack. The contributor Slack, I think, would be a better option. Telegram, don't use it. Twilio, I don't think I've used it. Because I just want it to be able to, I want to meet people where they're at, right? Like where are people already asking me questions? Microsoft Bot Framework, again, have not used it, blah, blah, blah. Rocket Chat, I know we talked about yesterday, and I am not super familiar with it either. So I think it's another chat platform. Mattermost, again, haven't used it. And then Google Hangouts chat. Yeah, I don't think that would be the best choice for this either. And then, of course, custom connectors. So I built a custom connector for Alexa that no longer works because of what Alexa changed, or rather the Alexa team changed. So that is, I'm pretty confident about the connector part of it. The question is really more, where is it going to live? Robbie says, build your chat like Twitter on your own website. That sounds like a lot of DevOps and support that I don't necessarily want to spend my time on. There was another possibility that I did not add that I thought about. Post on a new, very simple web page. So I could create a new website that's like just static HTML and then add it to that, and then that would be the thing that we do. And I think tidy this up a little bit. Okay, so thinking about this like sort of a design proposal, I think the next step is to sort these. So possibilities not happening. So for each of these approaches, is it something that like I'm willing to do and that seems like a good idea for me? And then the ones that are a possibility, I'm gonna have to like justify which one I think seems like the best idea, or is it just like, I don't think this is gonna happen to me. So Jekyll plugin. I think this is a possibility because I would like to be able to integrate this into my website. So let me add this up here. So for the ones that are possibilities, and I'm still considering, I'm going to do a quick pro and con for each, because I think that'll help us sort of weigh things and decide what it is that we want to do. And what we're really deciding here is, what do we want to do first? Because the way that Rasa is set up, I can have a single assistant and then a bunch of connectors to it. So people could talk with the assistant on my website through this front end and through Twitter DMs and through a Slack channel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very flexible, and I can use a number of different connectors, and they would all head back to the same assistant. So what we're really figuring out here is, what do we want to do first, not what is the only thing that we're going to do. And that's one of the big benefits of Rasa, particularly if you are considering it versus a system where they handle the deployment for you, and you can't really use it in as wide a variety of places as that you can with Rasa, have the same customer experience across all the different platforms and only have to maintain one thing. And this is, of course, the first deployment is going to be is really going to shape the future of the assistant, because the conversations that people have there are going to, you know, be part of the conversation-driven development process, are going to be used as training data further on, are going to help us decide, you know, what new intents to add to our assistant. So that's what I'm thinking about there. So pro, can use with existing website. Lots of people have this problem. I know there was a question that somebody asked a while ago that they would like a tutorial to deploy Rasa on any website, but not necessarily with Jekyll. And I mean, I think the big problem with that is that web frameworks are different, so you're going to need to do slightly different stuff for each of them. If I can find a plug-in, I don't have to do any front-end work myself, besides maybe adjusting color. Cons, haven't found a suitable plug-in yet, may spend a lot of time searching only to find there's nothing that I can use. Amina says, you can start with one channel and then add the others. For Facebook, you could use the Rasa page and not your personal account. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's a good approach. My preference would be to avoid Facebook, just sort of in general. Yeah, I think that is a solid way of approaching the deployment, is that you start with like one thing and then you start to add it and make it more accessible. Okay, so those are pros and cons for that. Basically, if I can find something that will make this easy for me, I'm very into this solution. If I can't, then I am much less into this solution, right? Next one. Add web chat from HTML into the website. No idea where this would go. Into... I think I'm going to file this under not happening. And the reason that I'm going to do that, don't know Jekyll well enough and don't really want to spend a bunch of time learning. And that's just my personal preference. And I mean, if you know Jekyll, or if you are someone who enjoys learning web front ends or web frameworks, this might be, you know, the option for you. Sarah's already deployed on Rasa page. Yes. I mean, the things that have been used to build the Rasa docs are not the same things that I've used to build my website, right? So I wouldn't be able to just use that solution, unfortunately. I'd have to do my own stuff. Right. Option 3 is that I rebuild my websites from scratch in a framework I know better, like Blog Down, so I can add a chat window. Not an efficient use of time. And it took me like a week to redo my website last time. It was just because I tried to move all of the, you know, files and materials, and there's a lot of stuff on my website. Like, it's, you know, a bunch of educational materials I've had since I was, you know, I developed in graduate school. Yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. Shiny in our server. I think same thing. I think that's just going to take would take a lot of futzing maybe in the future. So I think that right now that's not the best option for me. Not that I don't think you could build a chat interface in Shiny. Actually, what would be a better thing for me to do is to see if someone has done that already. Shiny R chatbot. Oh, somebody's got a Stack Overflow question about it. I would like to create a chatbot window. I want to have the possibility to sign message and have a... I spent a lot of time searching the internet. Unfortunately, I haven't found anything similar, and this is from 2 years ago. Okay. This person uses Chatra. Oh, I see. Okay, so this isn't built with Shiny. This is a chatbot on top of a Shiny dashboard, which is a slightly different thing. Yeah, okay, and this person wants to create their own element, and it looks like no answers were forthcoming. Okay, so... haven't found anything similar. Okay. Karen says, thank you. I think I might have missed some messages. No, I want all out. No, show me all of the messages. There we go. Okay, so I don't think this is a great option. Now, this one, host on a new, very simple web page. I actually think this is not a bad idea. So, good proof of concept. Can use for initial soft launch / early CDD. So I think that that's not a bad idea. Link from my website. So I think that's a reasonable approach. The cons here are kicks the can on the front end problem. Kicks the can just means like it continues to push something further down the road, like if you're walking along and kicking a can as you're walking. Little American colloquialism for y'all there. On the integration problem, why build myself when Rasa X will already do this? Rachel, why didn't you write down this as an option? Listen, I just finished my coffee. And I think same pro, right? Although I guess another pro from this is show integration with various front end and HTML suggestion. Robbie says it only takes a little bit for a personal website. So I agree, blog down is very straightforward. The problem is, right, so this is my website and, you know, oh, look, so responsive. Waha. Like, I'm not coding this to be responsive. Are you kidding me? Not my forte. Again, nothing but respect for folks. Really appreciate front-end designers. It makes me tired to think about. But it's not just this, right? So it's all my all my talks. Each of these talks is, you know, its own page that you can share. You know, you can flip through them. There's links to the slides. The slides are hosted on my website, so I have to rehost all those files. And there's the talks, and then there's all these, you know, educational resources that I put together. My blog is hosted somewhere else. That's on WordPress. I've got a copy of my CV, and then I have my publications. So this is, again, all my papers that I've written. Nope, all my papers I've written through 2018. I should add my more recent research, and that includes, you know, files to the paper files, and then papers, and then posters, and then the citations, and where they were published. And each of these is like a separate thing, right? So here's like the GitHub link, and then here's the paper. And the paper is also hosted. Oh, that ain't right. Actually, oh, it's probably just because it's not rendering the. This is a, as I remember, this is a pretty big poster. It's probably just not rendering the PDF with all the images. But like, in order for me to migrate my website, it is not just the text. It is also all of these objects and the links to these objects and the hosting of those objects. So it's a pretty big enterprise, which is why it took me so long last time. And then I have, like, you know, all the media stuff that's been written. Actually, some of the stuff isn't super well updated. I don't know when the last one of this one was. Yeah, very not recently. Anyway, my personal website, like, if you just look at this page, you're like, that would be pretty easy to move. And I agree, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. So as much as I love Blogdown, I don't think I'm going to be migrating the whole thing to Blogdown. Not especially interested in spending a lot of time doing that. Thank you. I changed text and moved files around, and that's what I did, because I am not a web developer. Yeah, and as a result, I'm not super familiar with the web framework it's built in, which is Jekyll, hence why the Jekyll-based solutions are going to take a while. But I agree, if I had a simpler website, I probably would just, like, change to a new framework. Life stories. Do you have any course that I could add as an elective for my master's in AI? So we actually have a couple of courses on Udemy that I think might be helpful. Actually, one sec. Did I kill my? No. Ooh, what? There we go. Yeah, there we go. So it's actually one of the things that you can ask the assistant about. So we have a Udemy course. There's Rasa for beginners, and then there's the certification workshop. Rasa for beginners is free. I believe the certification workshop is paid. And then we have the advanced certification and then the advanced deployment. I think those last two are separate. So there's a series of Udemy courses that you could do that will walk you through basically different Rasa stuff and different deployments. And some of them are paid, but you might be able to get your university to pay for them, possibly. And if cost is an issue, reach out to me and we can figure something out. In a coupon, me finding you a coupon sort of way, specifically. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. And I think the big problem with the Rasa X is that, again, it pushes this problem of how I'm going to create a front-end integration down the road a little bit. Also, we've already done this in the live stream. So we've also already done it in the live stream with this assistant, so it may not be the most riveting and new content, which would be an argument against Rasa X, not because it is not a good option, but because I don't want to repeat myself a whole bunch. So if you have it, I will post the link to the Rasa for beginners course in the YouTube chat. There you go. And I believe that one will have links to the other courses as well. So, other options. Discord. I think for me right now, Discord does not necessarily make more sense than something like Slack. don't have an existing Discord. Widget is the same as the above. Contributor Slack. I think this is actually not the best option, and the reason is Rasa contributors probably don't need answers to the questions my assistant can answer. So the problem there is that, I mean, it's not a problem. It's just the audience that I was designing for is people that like out of the blue reach out to me with questions. And if you're a Rasa contributor already, like you probably know about Rasa, you probably know about NLP at least a little bit, you probably know about machine learning at least a little bit. You're probably not going to need me to point you to the Rasa for Beginners course, for example. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I just think there's a mismatch between the people who are on the Rasa contributor Slack and what my assistant can do and who I built my assistant for. So I think that's why that's not the best option for me. And then finally, whoop, the Twitter options. So, pro, a reasonable place to put the assistant, meeting people who ask questions where they are. DSA says how to connect to Rocket Chat. So for that, I would go to the Rasa docs. So this is rasa.com/docs/rasa/connectors/rocket chat, and it'll walk you through it. So that would be my recommendation. And then there's, I think this is on their end. This is the Rocket Chat documentation. Yeah. So I think that this makes sense. Con, people need to have a Twitter account. So the pro of having it just on my website or having it hosted on Rasa X is you don't need an account, right? Although, I mean, that's also potentially a pro. Needing an account might help prevent abuse, which is something that we ran into last time we opened up an assistant and made it public for early CDD, is that we got some abusive language, and I think that's probably less likely to happen if it's tied to somebody's specific Twitter account than if it's anyone can enter text in the chat. The downside there is that, again, you need a Twitter account, but can add other channels that don't need an account later. So that's something that we can potentially overcome. Yeah, no worries, DSI. I hope your project goes good. So that's something that we could potentially overcome in the future. Another big con is need to handle Twitter API and TOS. Not sure how bots are handled by that. So I have I have a lot of friends who've written Twitter bots, various things, like people in Rasa write Twitter bots fairly often to do various things that they want to do. But I'm not entirely sure how the terms of service are handled. Yeah, so that's something to think about. Also, another pro is need to set up Rasa X anyway for CDD / annotation / model management. Yeah. Moss also says, would bot attacks be an issue in deploying with no account? Yeah, possibly, very possibly. I mean, it seems like a little bit unlikely because I'm just speaking for myself, the main type of sort of automated problems that I've run into online have been Bitcoin miners, and perhaps there is some way to do Bitcoin mining through a chat API. I don't know how it would happen. Like, it's not something my assistant can do. That's on the one side. So that's like abuse, like they're using your compute in ways that are against the terms of service. The other thing is, again, toxic language, abusive language. And I think what I might end up doing is, yeah, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Perhaps we won't. In general, people are pretty nice to me on Twitter, at least, which I appreciate. So yeah, potentially might not be an issue. Okay, I'm actually gonna move this little doodly-oop down and out. Well, no, I think I'm gonna add it to the end. So this might be a good option. I think this might be a good like proof of concept / demo. I don't know that it is the best thing for us to do right away. I think the order that I want to do things in, is, nope. I think I want to start with Rasa X, right? Because we're gonna need to do it anyway. So like, why not just make sure that we do that and have it all set up, and make sure that we have our server all set up and everything good to go, and then go ahead with that, right? And like that I also know how to do. So like starting with something that I know I'm going to be successful at is, going to help me get momentum going forward. So I think this will be fastest. So I think this is going to be the thing that we want to do first. And then second, I think Twitter makes sense, right? So especially because once we have this up, we'll start to have a couple of conversations. We can work on our CDD, improving our assistant. And then the main reason why I think this is a good thing to do is because this is the main place that people ask me questions, right, is on Twitter. So I think meeting people where they are is a really good reason for that to be something that we prioritize going forward. And then I'm actually going to switch these. And then third would be adding it to my website. And I think that the main way to do that would be starting with just like a very, simple, straightforward way of doing it on another static HTML page that like I link to, the same way that I link to my blog for my website. And then finally, trying to futz around with Jekyll. This is going to take the most time, but if we do this fourth, right, by that point, we'll already have something that we can point people to. We'll already have this Twitter bot, and we'll already have this Rasa X interface that people can use as well to talk to the assistant. So it doesn't matter if this ends up taking a while because we'll already have all of these things up and running and good to go, and we'll, have a conversation at this point that's pretty good. So, yeah. DSI says, can I divide the NLU.yaml file into 2 files? Yes. So as of Rasa 2.0, you can divide up the data files pretty much however you want. I'm trying to think, do we have good information about that in the docs? Blah, 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 blah. Domain, how to format your domain file. Stories, test stories, user examples, multi-line, training data, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure as long as you have NLU, metadata can contain the type of set up metadata, retrieval intents, special meaning, entities. I'm pretty sure that you can. I don't know the syntax right off the top of my head is my answer for you, but yes, I'm pretty sure that you can. Okay, so I feel good about this. I feel like this is a good strategy for going forward. I think it makes sense to start with Rasa X because we're going to need that anyway to look over and review the conversations. I think it makes sense that Twitter is the thing that we do second because, again, the thing that for me I know is going to be the thing that takes the most time is handling front-end stuff, which is not my forte. And Twitter will handle it. Ooh. Yeah, I would say at this point I know more about containers than front-end stuff. And if you were here for the last time we did containers on the live coding, that was a learning experience for all of us. Yeah. And then just having like a very simple thing that I can point people towards, and then finally trying to figure out how to put it on my website properly as a little chat box, which I know is something a lot of folks want to do. Knowing, of course, that the little chat box thing is not going to necessarily work for all frameworks. So whatever it is that we end up doing. Yeah. All right. I feel pretty good about this. So these notes are just in the README. Discussed on stream. Prioritized on stream. What's today? The 19th? Pretty sure. Yeah, because tomorrow is solstice. Happy early spring / fall, depending on which hemisphere you're in. All right, so I think in the future we'll start with figuring out Rasa X server. And I think I mentioned Heroku, and I think that might not be a bad idea. I think we have examples for GCP on the YouTube channel, but I don't think we have any Heroku examples. And I did actually go through and figure out for the Django deployment. No, that was all very Django specific. Never mind. I was gonna say I went to and figured out for the Django deployment Heroku plus Django, but that was, again, we're not using Django. We're using Jekyll. And for this, we're using Rasa X, so that's a moot point anyway. All right, I'm feeling good about this. I know that this was just sort of like going through and really thinking about things and doing scoping, and that's part of development. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Happy solstice, and I will see you next Wednesday for paper. Nope. Next Wednesday is office hours, and we are going to be talking to Tom, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it's Tom. Regardless of who it is, it's going to be great. Hope to see you there with your questions, and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.